Hey, lovely, lovely, wonderful people. A pleasant evening to you, or afternoon still. All right, I want to ruffle your brain a little bit because I really wanted to get you researching and thinking. Now, it has been for a little while now kind of puzzling my brain about Judas Iscariot. There was another Judas in the Bible. And I said, one of the things I know or understand about people who intentionally and deliberately betray people, there is no guilt really. Or maybe they feel a sense of guilt, but it is faint. It's as though they're like sociopaths. Their emotional intelligence, one, and the compass that guides their compassion is either malfunctioning, has malfunctioned or out of use, or they have little compassion, little to no mercy, and they really don't feel guilty. And I couldn't understand. I said, for a man who betrayed the best being ever, why would he kill himself and not even spend a cent out of the 30 pieces of silver? And one of the things, when I was doing some research that came across me, there are several reasons, but I think one just really connected with me. And it's really disillusionment and unmet expectations, which would make sense if you understood the Roman Empire back then. So some scholars think that Judas may have expected Jesus to become like a political messiah, like a king. He was the king of kings, but you know what I mean, like coming to all his robe and might and all of these things. A leader who would overthrow the Roman rule. And when Jesus didn't act the way that he thought, Judas might have felt disappointed, frustrated, or even betrayed himself. And let me give you a little understanding, a little background of the Roman rule and who they were and what they did. There were several aspects of the Roman rule that were harsh or very oppressive. One, heavy taxation. The Rome imposed multiple taxes, heavy land tax, trade taxes, land taxes, trade taxes, personal taxes. These were often collected through local agents who could overcharge or exploit people. Many ordinary people lived in poverty partly because of this system. Secondly, political oppression. The Romans didn't allow full self-rule, so leaders like Pontius Pilate were appointed to govern and enforce Roman interests. That is why when Pilate couldn't find anything, he said, you know what, I wash my hands, send him back over to Caesar. He wanted to stay clear from this when he found no fault with Jesus. So local rulers like Herod's family were often seen as puppets of Rome. Dissent could be quickly crushed. Thirdly, brutal punishments. Rome maintained control through fear. Crucifixion. Jesus was the only person that was crucified. That was a practice of theirs, Crucifixion was used as a public, painful execution for rebels. Punishments were often extreme to discourage resistance. So if you resist them, they don't have no qualms in crucifying you. This is the same method used, obviously, to execute Jesus. Military presence and violence. Tyranny, basically. Roman soldiers were stationed throughout the region. They could use force to control crowds. Rebellions were met with severe retaliation. For example, uprisings were sometimes crushed with mass killings. They just kill you out. Religious tension. While Rome allowed some religious freedom, there were constant tensions. Roman authority sometimes interfered with Jewish religious practices. So the presence of pagan symbols and emperors being treated as divine offended many Jews. Loss of independence. Perhaps the biggest issue, the Jewish people had a strong identity tied to their land and faith. And Roman rule meant foreign domination, so that they would take over that, and no true national sovereignty. Now, why this matters for Judas at the time of Jesus? Because of all of this, many Jews were hoping for a Messiah who would overthrow Roman rule and restore independence. So when Jesus didn't lead this political rebellion, some followers, which includes Judas, or possibly includes him, Judas Iscariot, may have felt confused, frustrated, or disillusioned. So I want a lot of you to understand that his betrayal of Jesus wasn't necessarily one of ill motive, meaning he secretly despised, or he secretly loathed, or he secretly abhorred, or he secretly hated Jesus. No, he was hoping for something, and when that thing didn't come, because of his low emotional intelligence and possibly low intelligence quotient, it caused him to just get upset. You know, when you don't get your way, you throw a fit, you throw a tantrum, and you huff and puff and blow the house down like the wolf, and decide, all right, when the Roman knights, I call them, came to Judas and said, Judas, look here, just give him to us, man. We're not going to do him nothing, you know. We just probably won't question him. I'm surmising everything, you know, because they couldn't just come into that camp like that, you know. You remember Judas? Jesus hired some men who never play, you know. Today we'd have called them some serious mercenaries, those disciples. They weren't Christians when he called them. He have to work with them to transform their hearts, their minds, and their souls. These were bad men. Them man would have carried them AK-47 or whatever is a more newer machinery today. You know, you couldn't just come there so like that and feel like, and plus Jesus in and of himself doesn't really need any backative if you really understand who he is. He's the Ancient of Days, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. He doesn't need any backative from us. But I'm just giving you a picture, painting a picture of how they would have been back then. Peter being a fisherman, play with a fisherman. Them tell you some bad word from now till tomorrow and stop. And them never cause to just slice your head off and feel no way. So Judas, his betrayal was not necessarily one of ill motive, but he was a very foolish man nonetheless. He was a very, very foolish man. So these Roman men would have come to him and say, look here, man, we just really want to question him because this man are coming with some things when it sound a little off, and I might get people for follow him, and we need to maybe study this man. So they came and they tricked Judas. And because Judas's intelligence was very low, and he had low self-esteem, low self-worth, couldn't understand who, Jesus was trying to show him who he can be if he chooses to be. And that left him, it eluded him. And him say, well, I give some money, man. We got to pay handsomely. And him say, all right. You see the man will make his? That's the man. Because him can't make it so obvious, you can't come to your captain and say, there is my captain. You can't sell him out so clear. So he must say, like he thinks Jesus is an imbecile, So him tell them, and Jesus already knew, because of his omnipotence and omniscience. And so he come and say, give him a kiss. So he said, the person that you see me repeatedly kiss, he's the man. And he bring about 600 and odd for one man. And him still could have just make them fall to the ground. And when Judas's eyes and sensibility came to some semblance of sensibility, let's put it that way, he probably more than likely said to himself, what have I done? These men tricked me. All I wanted Jesus was to do just overthrow this Roman rule because they're oppressive. They're tyrants. We were tired of the maltreatment and the tyranny, the violence and the oppression and the heavy taxes. We're sick of uno. Jesus, I'm so sorry. I was just trying something and I didn't realize. And all of these things more than likely is going through Judas's mind. And he said, mighty goodness, this man is the best being ever. What have I done? What have I done? Because the Bible said it's like the devil entered him. It's like the devil come and just trick him via the people, basically. And he did what he did. And when he came to his senses, maybe the devil left him. Let's put it that way. So, I can't live. He's the best person ever in the world. None is like him. Him could even spend a dime, a dollar, a cent, or anything out of the 30 pieces of silver. And he said, the best thing I can do is just get myself out of this planet. And he hung himself. This doesn't tell you of somebody who is hateful of Jesus, would do two things like that. He kill himself and don't even spend a dollar out of the money. But your foolish ways can make you do foolish things, and that is who Judas was. Don't be a Judas. Anyway, guys, you know what to do with TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe, Give me one of those lions, and you can actually follow me on Instagram. Have a good one.